as you guys know, I first talked about it 3 years ago during my 6 wave webinar. How many of you were there during this webinar called the 6 wave? This was, almost 3 years ago. I'm sure a lot of you were there. Some of you are new, you were not there. And if you're not there, let me do a quick recap on what I talked about 3 years ago, and let's see what happened since then. Okay. So if you take a look at the global economy and global markets, they are divided into what we call innovation waves. And these innovation waves, they last anywhere from 20 to 30 years on average. Okay. So what happens during this innovation wave? What happens is that a series of innovations transforms businesses, transforms the economy, and changes our life and creates a lot of new wealth. Yeah. So for example, the last innovation wave was known as the fifth wave. So the fifth wave over here, oops, give me a second. The fifth wave, this was from 1990 to 2020, that lasted for 30 years. So what happened during the fifth wave? What was invented? You had the invention of software. Software was invented starting with MS-DOS, right? And then Windows, and then iOS, and then the invention of the internet. Remember that? And then now internet on your phone, the mobile internet, the invention of social media like Friendster, MySpace, and then we had Facebook, and now Instagram and WhatsApp, and the invention of cloud computing. All right. Now, how many of you honestly say that software has changed your life? Has software changed our life, both the way we work and the way we play? Of course, right? Has social media changed your life? For better or for worse, right? Has internet on your phone changed your life? Has cloud computing changed your life? Yes. We can't imagine living without all these things now. And all these inventions, they transformed businesses like Apple. They created new businesses like Microsoft, like Netflix, like Booking.com, which has Agoda, like Meta, like Google. All right. And it has created tremendous wealth. So during these 30 years, what happened? The S&P 500 gained 1,950% in 30 years. Now, this is despite two major crashes. We had the dot-com crash here and the great financial crisis, right? No, so despite two major crises, if you just hold through the ups and downs, in the fifth wave, you would have made 1,950%. That is about a 10% compounded return a year. All right. Now, that's if you just buy the whole S&P 500. If you knew how to pick the highest quality companies that made consistent profits, which I'm going to show you how to pick today, you'd have made double or triple that return. All right. So for myself, I made my first million, my first 5 million. In fact, I made my first 10 million during the fifth wave. So I built my first fortune there. I'm sure many of you did that as well. Okay. But how many of you missed the fifth wave? Either you were too young to invest or you did not know how to invest. Any of you missed the fifth wave? So if you missed the fifth wave, what's the good news? The good news is that we are now in the sixth wave that started about 5 years ago. We're in the fifth year of this sixth wave, right? And like I said, 3 years ago, this sixth wave will be the most revolutionary of all the innovation waves of the past. It would have the biggest impact on economic growth, on corporate earnings, and on stock market returns. So I'm here to tell you that the stock market returns of the next 5, 10, 15 years is going to be a lot more than the last 20, 30, 40 years. Okay, why? Because this sixth wave is the AI and robotics revolution. Okay, and if you recall 3 years ago, I said, what are the companies that are leading this revolution? 3 years ago, I mentioned these companies. I mentioned NVIDIA 3 years ago. Nothing new, right? I mentioned Palantir. In fact, I made a whole video on YouTube about Palantir, right? I mentioned Microsoft and Google and Amazon and Meta. And these companies have led this AI revolution so far. Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Alphabet, what did he say? He said that AI will have a more profound impact on our lives than fire, electricity, and the internet. Okay. Now, all of us saw how the internet changed our life. Okay. And if you think about it, right, today, every company in a way is an internet company, right? So although like my business is education, but we are built online, right? And no company can exist today without being online. Would you agree? Would you guys agree with that? No company can exist today without having an online presence, right? So, in other words, today, every business has to be an internet business or be extinct already, okay? Now, at the same time, today, every company is an electricity company, all right? Now, can you imagine a world without electricity? Now, we can't because when we were born, we already had electricity. Now, not too long ago, before the 1930s, electricity was not common in homes or in companies. Did you know that? So only in the 1930s, then more homes and more companies had electricity, and that transformed people's lives. That from there, you could have shops open at night. You could have manufacturing on the assembly line. That gave rise to products like the oven, the hair dryer, right? The television, and the oven. So electricity changed our life. Now, why am I saying all this to you? Because if you think that electricity changed our life, if you think that internet changed our life, holy shit. It is nothing compared to the way AI and robotics will change all our lives. All right. So nowadays people talk about, hey, is this an AI company? Is this not an AI company? Let me tell you that in the near future, every company will have to be an AI company or no longer exist. How many of you agree with that? Every company will have to be AI enabled or no longer exist. Yeah. I can tell you that my company recently, we've been sending a lot of our staff to all be trained in AI. They have to all be trained in AI. And nowadays, if you graduate from university and you're not proficient with AI, there's no way you can get a decent job nowadays, right? So the old saying goes, AI may not take your job, but someone who knows AI will take your job very soon. Okay, so same thing. If you're in business, a business that deploys and leverages on AI will wipe you away from existence. So we are in this revolution. We can either be destroyed by it or we can capitalize on it to build our next generation of wealth. And I'm going to show you today how you can be that second group of people. You build your generational wealth on this AI revolution. All right. So since I presented this idea 3 years ago, what has happened? Let's take a look at what has happened, right? Now, the AI revolution officially started on 30th November 2022. Why? That was when ChatGPT was first released and people said, wow, my God, it's amazing. I can talk to this computer, it can generate poems, it can generate anything for me, right? That was the ChatGPT moment. So since then, as you can see, the S&P 500, since then, which is about 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago, it's up 65%. Yeah. Now, was it a straight line? Does the market go up in a straight line? Yes or no? Nothing goes up in a straight line, right? It goes through what we call ups and downs, right? So wave up, wave down, 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 wave up. And recently, the last 1 week, wave down. Now, the market recently is only down like 5%, and people are freaking out. God, we're gonna die some bubble. Hello, it's only a 5% drop. And my guess is we're somewhere near the bottom here, right? But in April this year, we went through a 21% drop. Okay? Last year, sorry, not in 2023, we went through an 11% drop. So there will be ups and downs, but this entire wave, this entire revolution is very much intact. And I'll show you all the evidence in a short while.